everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jordan. I do not live in the US, but I am still a huge Broadway fanatic. I have seen more than 100 shows and I love talking about it. Another side thing that you should know about me is that I have actually left the high-tech world, I've left the engineering world, and I've decided to go and study musical theater at the age of 33. I know it's pretty weird, but I have to say I'm enjoying it. As part of that, I have connected to a lot of people who do musical theater in one way or another. Some of them are more amateurs than the others. Some of them are actually participating in musicals that we have running currently in my country. Some of them are pianists, some of them are actors, singers, whatever. We have everything. And through that friend group, one of them decided to create some sort of readings of musicals. So it's like a play date, it's like a new club thing. It's just friends joining in together and reading a musical. If you don't know what that means, let me explain. This is kind of new, so we're still working out the details, and the friend who organized it is really, she's the bomb. And what we actually do is that they find the libretto of the musical. So this is an example of a libretto, and if you don't know what it means, then a libretto is basically all of the text of the musical. It has all of the characters at the beginning, and it has all of the songs. You see some of them have pictures from the production if it's like a book libretto, but basically you can read the whole musical. Here you can see, like, this is from Avenue Q. You can read the whole musical, and then when you get to the songs, it's a bit different. So yeah, let's say this is a song, so you have like the text of the song, but you don't have the chords or like the sheet music. That is in a different place if you want it. We met up, we chose a musical, she chose a musical, which I was very excited. And then each one of us got a character and we were screening the libretto. We were all reading our characters. Some were more actors than others. Some had better English than others. I don't know if English is your first language or not, but when it's not your first language, it's sometimes can be harder, and the accent is also a thing. So that was fun to explore that musical in different accents. That was like just having fun with it, you know, just reading it out, trying to be the characters, trying to bring something else. Most of the people have not even read or heard about the musical that we did, so that was interesting. They only got like the short synopsis of the musical, just small things that they should know about the connections between the characters, and that's it. And we did have the music beforehand, so whoever wanted could listen to the songs beforehand. And when we got to a song, there were two choices. Either we heard the Broadway production or the Off-Broadway production's soundtrack, and we heard the song with the Broadway actors, and the other option was we actually sang it ourselves. So we do have a very, very talented pianist, and he played the songs and some of us sang the songs. It was pretty fun. Even if a few girls sang all the songs of the female lead, so it wasn't just one girl singing all the songs. And it was just like really nice to be in that environment of really accepting and just having fun and exploring it.
Your hair, what a mess, like a dress, oh my gosh. Are you mourning in the afternoon dress for the right? But a little kind mistook you for butternut squash. Oh my gosh.
And at the end, we had a discussion about the musical, which I've never had such a deep discussion on a musical, I have to say. And it wasn't even because it was so late, it was pretty short, but it was still very interesting to see how people got the musical and what made them tick and what did they like and what they didn't like. That was really, really cool. That was what we did. And I'm going to tell you now what musical we did it. So it wasn't Avenue Q. I just gave you that as an example of a libretto, but we actually did Dogfight. And I love that musical. If you don't know Dogfight, it came to Off-Broadway in 2012. It was written by Pasek Paul, the amazing duo that brought us Dear Evan Hansen and even songs from The Greatest Showman. That was their big, I feel like, famous / cult-wise project. It actually ran for less than 2 months. Preview started in June and it closed in mid-August. So that's pretty crazy that it had such a short life on Off-Broadway, but it still managed to be so inspirational for a lot of people. I love a lot of the songs, and I hope that after you see this video, you go in and listen to a few of them. If you don't know what Dogfight is about, it's based on a movie, and it's set in November 21st, 1963. It's basically the eve of Kennedy's assassination, so it has, I I know that the date was very inspirational for the vibe, but the story follows Eddie Birdlace, who is a young Marine, and he's about to set sail to Vietnam to fight the war and to deploy there. And he has his two buddies, they're both like Boland and Bernstein, and they call themselves the Three Bs, and they're really, really close. They decide to do a competition on their last night in San Francisco, the Dogfight competition, which apparently was something very known at the time. They have to choose the ugliest girl to invite on a date. Everybody puts in some money, and whoever brings the ugliest girl wins. They do have some rules, no hookers, no, things like that. It's a hard story. So Eddie goes and tries to find a girl, and then he sees Rose in a diner, and she is playing her guitar to herself. She is just this sweet girl, and he invites her to the party, to the competition without her knowing. But while he is getting to know her, he changes. He has this whole experience of being a man and what it means. It's a very kind of outdated story, I feel like, because it's who does a dogfight anymore, like who does those things. It's so barbaric. But yeah, it's something that they did. The really interesting thing is that two of the people who performed this musical, the main actors, which are Derek Klena and Lindsay Mendez, they both had amazing Broadway careers. They actually from this both went to star in Wicked as a couple again. Lindsay did Elphaba and Derek did Fiyero. Then he continued to be in Anastasia, and she continued to be in so many things. She got a Tony on her Carousel performance, and then she got another nomination on her Merrily We Roll Along. Like, they both had amazing careers, but watching them in this really, really sweet and small production before they got big, that's really nice. I really love this production before I read it. What else can I tell you? There are a lot of songs, really great songs in the musical, but what I found very interesting is that all of the Rose songs, so all of the songs of the main character, she has such humanity to her, such empathy to her. All her songs are her expressing her feelings. So there are three main songs, well there's four, but three that are main ones, which are Nothing Short of Wonderful, Pretty Funny, and Before It's Over. And each one of them has like a different emotion that's leading them. So Nothing Short of Wonderful is like more of the excitement and the energy of like experiencing something new. Pretty Funny is basically a betrayal. It's feeling betrayed. And Before It's Over is, I feel like it's kind of optimism for the future. I love that song. That's my favorite song. You have those songs, and then you have all the men's songs, which are very upbeat, very energetic, some kind of time. They're very shallow. They're all talking about men being men conquering, the brotherhood of men. It's a lot of that masculinity inside of them, and I really loved the difference. And when you go throughout the musical, I feel like you see this change in Eddie, that he's very masculine, he's very like macho, like the men, like his peers from the Marines. And then slowly he shifts, and like Rose affects him and gives him more of his empathy and his humanity and like being vulnerable. And it goes in a very, very nice way. So they do have a duet, which is called First Date Last Night. It's also such a beautiful song. And it's very hard to play it, I have to say, because half the song is basically dum dum da da dum dum dum. There's no words. But that's what's so beautiful about it, because if you see it in a show, then there's so much things that they want to say to each other, so many things that they want to express in their lives, but they can't, and they're still not there. Having that song in the middle and having him slowly share his feelings, slowly like being more open to that. That's so beautiful. And then at the end, he has his final solo, which is him like basically, I don't know, I feel like that was the shift, because that's his first solo song. After we had so many solo songs of Rose, Eddie has one at the end. And I feel like that's a great climax and like great way of ending a musical that's so on, the verge between being macho and needing that in order to fight a war, and like having that vision of we're men and we're strong and we can do it and we're not afraid, next to having like you're being scared and being vulnerable and like having empathy to people, and just like, so yeah, like that connection. I just loved it. After we had our reading, which was pretty, it's so funny to have people who are not always really actors and just seeing them play different characters. I got to play Marcy. Marcy is the date that Bolin brought, and she knows about the dogfight. She's a prostitute, and she was hired by him, which was he broke the rules, and she knows about everything. So that was pretty fun, and I just enjoyed it. And I also did a lot of like little bits in like little characters in the middle, and that's just so it's letting it out in a way that who the fuck cares? Oh, sorry about that word, but just having fun. So that was that. When we finished the reading, we had a discussion, and a lot of things that came up. If you don't want to watch the musical, or if you don't want to go and explore yourself, this is a spoiler alert. I'm going to tell you the whole thing and everything that's going on in details. So notice that. Spoiler alert. So we do, as I said, we have Bolin, Bernstein, and Birdlace. They all go and find their dates. Birdlace finds Rose, which is a very cute waitress. Cute. Ugly, but yeah. And Bolin hires Marcy. They all go to the party. They do have like a rule that if you want to participate in the competition, you need to show off your girl on the dance floor. Birdlace is trying to not do it. So after talking with Rose, he kind of feels bad. He tries not to do it. He tries to prevent her from dancing dancing on the floor. She insists on dancing with him because they're the only ones who are not. So he does that. She gets a score of a 6. Bolin and Marcy get a score of a 6 as well, but then she takes out like her teeth or something. She does a show, and then they get a 10 and he wins. Then they go to the restroom, and Bolin refuses to pay for Marcy. He doesn't give her all the pay that she deserves. She is very mad about that. Rose hears the altercation, and then Marcy tells her about the dogfight. Rose is very upset. She goes home. In the meantime, you have Bolin, Bernstein, and Birdlace go out. They go to a prostitute, and that was a very, very intense scene to read. They almost force her to take Bernstein. Yeah, it's pretty intense. It's pretty harsh, but she understands that she is outnumbered, and she takes him, and he loses his virginity to her. And then, by the way, most of them are virgins. And then from there, Birdlace is very disgusted with what they're doing, with their behavior, so he leaves them. And he goes back to Rose. He apologizes, and he wants her to go on a date with him. So they go on a date. He acts like he curses, and he acts very manly, and she gives him contrast. She pushes him to his limit. She fights with him, but in a good way. She's like, stop cursing. And then he says, I can't. So she starts cursing. And it's just, she teases him in a good way. And their date goes nicely. He goes back to her house, and they sleep together. It's a very nice, that's the song Give Way, which is very beautiful. And it feels so pure. The way that he comes and apologizes, and the way that she accepts his apology and is willing to give him a second chance, that's so beautiful. On the other hand, you have Bolin and Bernstein. They go to a tattoo parlor to tattoo bees on their hands or something. They're waiting for Birdlace, but he does not show up. And then at the end, he leaves her house, and before he does, she gives him her address. He goes to meet up with the boys before the departure, and Bolin confronts him when he notices the paper. He basically tells him that in Vietnam, Rose is not going to be there, but they are. So the 3 Bs, they need to stick together. Eddie decides to tear up the address. He is not going to write her, basically. That's what we understand. We understand that he chose his brothers in arms and not Rose. The final scene is we see them fighting, and we see them dropping one by one, and Eddie is still alive. He comes back to San Francisco. He goes back to Rose, and we see an interaction with him and an older guy, and he is very out of it, very not connecting to him and very not connected to the world. But then when he gets to Rose, he just cries in her arms. It's so beautiful in a way, and it's so harsh in another way. But yeah, that's how the musical ends. So end of spoilers here. Now, when we talked about the musical, one of the things, like one of the guys in the conversation said, well, I don't get it. Like, I don't get the purpose, because we do have this love story, but we do have all the other themes. And we kind of understood that the love story is not the main theme. It's not the main issue in this musical. I feel like it's growing up. I feel like it's showing your feelings against like being this manly. It's very maturing way of basically Eddie Birdlace and how he sees the world when he first landed in San Francisco until he departed to Vietnam. And just in one night, how many things could happen to him, and he saw his friends in what they truly are, which are physically disgusting, demeaning, overly macho, overly testosterone. I don't know, like people who are just not respecting other people's feelings. And he decided that, well, I feel like it's a tough decision that he had to do in the end, because eventually he got to Vietnam and they were the people who were supposed to watch his back. And he chose them in order to survive, because I guess fear is another common thing that goes on. Like everybody fears from something, and you see those fears. And you do have like a conversation between Bolin and Bernstein about being afraid of getting to Vietnam and dying there. And in that instance, you have Bernstein, who was usually a follower. He was the one who was like trying to calm Bolin and really tell him like everything is going to be okay. So it's very nice to have that fear going around, and everybody has their own fear. Eventually, Eddie has to decide if he's going to keep that hope and keep that humanity, or he needs to let it go for a while, because he's going to a war. He's going to fight people. He's going to have to kill people who want to kill him. I am not I don't know a lot about the Vietnam War. I am not saying that I do or I have any idea of what it was, how it is. I do have an idea how it is in a war, but not the Vietnam one. So I do know that sometimes you feel like you have no choice and you do have to pull the trigger, even though you really don't want to, and something inside of you says no. And I feel like that's where Eddie had to really just let go of that and just even forget that in order to survive. It's very harsh, but you see that after the war, he came back to Rose. He wanted his humanity back, and I feel like Rose represented that. She represented the part of him that he just left behind because he had to. That was so nice, and we talked about that. We talked about the place of Rose, and I said it before, like I love it that Rose's songs, most of their songs were solos, and all of them, they weren't, usually when you have a song in a musical, the new musicals, it's not always, but it's a song that advances the plot or gives you another detail that you need to know or another new thing that's coming up. And in all of Rose's songs, they were not really advancing the plot. They were either soliloquies. So soliloquy is when a character sings about their feelings. So the audience is the only people who see it, but the other characters don't. So we have 2 soliloquies, and then we have the last song, which is her singing to Eddie and really sharing her thoughts. So it's all of her songs were her sharing her thoughts, her sharing her feelings, her emotion changes and everything. It's very interesting to see how she had that. And she feels like the main character, but the whole story is around Eddie Birdlace and his journey. So she is basically supporting his journey, because Rose does not go on any journey. Her character kind of starts and stays the same. She is very true to herself. She did go through an experience that was fun at first, then bad, then ended fun. But she is still the same. She didn't go through anything. And so did all of the other characters. So Bolin and Bernstein, which are the 2 friends, they are basically staying the same and dying at the end. But Eddie, he's the one who goes through like this kind of loop, but then goes out of it and reaches to his new self. So that was very interesting to talk about, and it's so funny because I don't think about musicals that way. Usually when I go to a musical, I think about how it made me feel, but I don't deep dive into the themes and into the things that are going on. So that was so fun to have that conversation and see what other people felt and what they thought. So the last thing that I want to share is it's an interesting thing, because when we finished the musical, what I thought about was 2 things. Will it work today? It's a story from 1960s. Does it still work now? And will it work in my country? Because this is a very Americanized story, and although we do have similarities in my country, it's still it's a different type of patriotism. You get me. So I will try to answer those questions to myself mainly. I had a lot of problem with the musical, a lot. I felt that if I have seen it, I'm not sure I would have enjoyed the storyline. I do love some of the characters, but some of them I pretty much hate. And you're meant to hate some characters, but I always love to love the villain in the story. And here it's kind of Bolin. He's like kind of the villain. And I don't know, it's tricky, because when we did it as a reading, we did it with people who are not always acting and they don't always understand the deep dive into the character, and having it with somebody who is an actor and who's working with a director and really understanding the character and bringing it to life, you might love it more than just in a reading. But based on only the reading and like the text. It's a harsh material and I feel like it won't go smoothly today. I feel like having a competition, the whole concept of having these girls paraded for being ugly, it's just so not today. It's just so, And as a woman, I felt offended. And I know that it's just a musical and there's so many other things, but it just felt too much. And like the men that are talking like their songs and things like that, it felt a bit too much, like when you listen to the words. I love the songs, but when you listen to the words, it's harsh. It's a harsh topic. So I don't know. I feel like if they will do it again, they really need to keep in mind that these are old topics and really go with the direction and the actors in a way that the material will work. But it's very hard in this woke time that we have now and just like feminism and things that weren't existing in the 60s. And when it came out in 2012, it wasn't as strong and as big. I don't know what the reviews were when it came out, but I know that I love the songs. So that. And if it will work in my country, that's the second question. I feel like in some way it will, and in some ways it won't. I do have a friend who translated, we don't speak English, so he translated the whole production, which is amazing. And I feel like in a way of the men and them trying to experience life at the fullest before they're deployed, that is something that can be very relatable. But our army, our fights, our mentality is very different from the US, and especially the US in the 60s. And I feel like that is where there will be a bit of disconnect. And I don't know. I know that I will go see it, but mainly because of the songs. And I feel like it's one of those productions that the songs go so much more than the plot is good. It's fine, it's interesting, but the songs are just something so beautiful. I love performing and singing those songs. They're my favorite songs to sing, and I feel so vulnerable when I sing them. And I feel so intact with my emotions when I sing them. So that's why I will see it, because I would want to see people bring life to those songs. But I'm not sure if it's not a mainstream musical. I'm not sure if it's something that will succeed long term, but for short term, why not? So yeah, that was me sharing my thoughts on Dogfight. Have you seen it on Broadway, Off-Broadway? Have you experienced the musical in every way? Do you have any thoughts? Have you done those type of readings with your friends? I would love to hear what you guys have to say. What have you experienced and what you think? Do you think that the connection, Rose and Eddie, like, I'd love to hear your thoughts about the musical, about the themes in the musical, and how it made you feel. So please share them. That will be so much fun. And we are doing another type of those play dates and readings, and I will come back and share with you everything that we do. But if you have a recommendation of a musical for us to do, then please share it with me. We are looking for musicals that are less known, like those things that are you need to dig and in order to find them, or it's just like a cult thing, like Dogfight. Most people don't know about it, and I just now discovered it ran only for 2 months, barely, which is amazing to think about it because it's been so influential. Like I've heard the song so many times, but it was just for such a short time. So that's really funny. If you like my channel, please like and subscribe. I would love the support, and I will see you in the next video. And thank you so much. I love you all. Woohoo.